for the year. They had to accumulate so many, and so it was part of keeping track and counting up their hours and keeping track. And I was the only board member on there, and the rest were all teachers, which they had a pretty good handle on everything. And it took me a little bit to kind of learn their lane changes and all this other stuff that goes along with it. Well, then I got on the facility committee, and that has been a great undertaking for the last, of course, phase 1, 2, and 3. As you can see, it's been a lot of meetings and a lot of making decisions, and you go and you research stuff, and then you bring it back to the board and to pass. And so that was really there's a lot of, it's almost like having working again. But I enjoyed it because it was fun seeing how things were getting done in the school, and we're pretty proud as far as what we've done with the health and safety, and hopefully to continue on, keeping improvements made, because we still got a lot of work to do in the school. And in the school, when I say a lot of work to do, we had health and safety money that we worked with, and you're limited to what you can spend it on. So you just can't go and buy stuff or do stuff without it being approved, because if you do it wrong, the state's going to knock on the door and say, we want some of our money back. So it was a great undertaking in many ways. And I think most of you, if you haven't been to open house or haven't been to the school, I'm really looking forward to when they open up the Career and Technical Education building. This is for a tour, because it's, I think people will be well pleased with the money spent. So
had to work. We told them.
It met with its challenges, and then I'm on the budget committee. And I know that's a hot topic, and I got a lot I can say about the budget committee and or the budget. But anyway, we will answer questions, and so I guess that's what brought me here. And I promise you, you just don't learn it. You just don't learn all this in just 4 years. It's been a fast 4 years. It takes a long time. You really don't start hitting on a lot of it and understanding some of this stuff when it comes to different aspects of the school and how it operates, until you're probably about the 3rd year you start comprehending it. And the rest of the time, I know the first time you're on the board, the first meeting that we had, I'm sitting there going, I just hope I don't say something stupid. But I've made up for that since then. So anyway, that's kind of my story.
So you want to take a minute to...
I know. I'm just ready for questions.
You're not going to tell us all about yourself?
No.
Well, you grew up here? You went to school here?
I grew up here, been here all my life. I love Wrenchell. I want the school here. My grandson is in 7th grade. Hopefully he will be the 4th generation of my family to graduate. I don't know.
So you've been on the board for almost 4 years now?
4 long years.
Yeah. And
4 long, stressful years. There's a lot of learning. There's a lot of questioning. Unfortunately, there's a lot of hate from community, because you cannot please everybody. You try to make the fairest judgments you can.
so for 4 years you have negotiated AFSCME contracts.
Twice.
You have worked to try and blend sports teams with Carleton.
We've been I was on the consolidation committee. That was interesting. You get to the point where, okay, it's going to happen this time, and then it blows up. Hopefully by consolidating a lot of the sports and other after-school activities will bring us each community a step closer.
I kind of forgot about the consolidation part of it.
That was 2 years.
Ancient history, right?
Yeah.
And you arrange and lead the meet and greet, meet and confer with the staff and the teachers?
Yes, because we hadn't had any for 2 years because of COVID.
Oh, yeah.
The teachers, you have the term meet and confer. We cannot use that if we're dealing with the other staff. But I feel it's important to get everybody's thoughts on what's going good and what's going bad. Not just the teachers, everybody who works in that building, they all have an input. They all touch the students' lives. It's important to hear from everybody.
And you did.
Yes, good, bad, and otherwise.
Can you think of anything else that Deb needs to talk about, Jack?
Just have them ask questions.
In a minute. So I'm Cindy Bourn. I was born in Washington, D.C. I grew up in Winnipeg, Canada. I hitchhiked to Los Angeles when I was 19 and spent a couple of decades there, raised a family. Moved to this area. I've been here for 30 years now, almost 30 years. Retired out to the country and love it. When I first moved here, I got involved with the facility subcommittee that worked on the third referendum. Johneke was the chair of that committee, and we promoted that third referendum. It didn't work. Felt like the second one was probably the sweet spot. And it failed by just like 27 votes or something. So 3 times wasn't a charm. Then, after Bill Dion stepped down as the appointee, well, he ran first, but then he stepped
No, you
down.
ran.
Oh, I ran. Yeah, that's right. I ran with these two. Thank you, Deb. For school board when they did 4 years ago, and Michelle Blanchard beat me out. So, not a problem. She deserved it. She had the experience and the knowledge and and connection with the school. Then a year ago, when Bill Dion stepped down as the appointee to fill Michelle's position when she became principal, the board appointed me, and I was read the oath in November. So I've been attending school board meetings since last November. So I've been on the board for about 10 months. And it's a very, very steep learning curve. You wouldn't believe the volume of law there is that governs almost everything you do in the school. It's overwhelming. It's just overwhelming. I feel like I'm a quick study. I feel like I'm getting my feet under me. I'm serving on the safety committee. I've been on the construction committee. I served with Deb on the meet and confer, meet and greet. I was also like a trainee on the AFSCME negotiations committee. And we've just started a policy committee for the school. Minnesota School Board Association has a service that the school pays for that provides us with policies that are developed by a team of attorneys, and they're compliant with all of the statutes, and they coordinate, the individual policies coordinate with the other policies so that they're consistent. So we're working on, the team of us are working on updating the school's policies and integrating them into the school. So I feel like I've kind of found my niche. I'm comfortable with the detail work and working on policies. Am I missing anything? Did I forget anything?
No, you're sticking to detail, we know that.
So let's open the floor to questions. Oh, somebody's got to be brave.
Okay, I have a question. Some of these candidates the other night were asked questions that could not be answered because they've never served on the board.
Yeah.
Such as, where are we upside down this year? Where are we at? What is our budget like? I understood from one meeting that we're spent $58,000 in attorney's fees. Is that correct?
As far as that I can't tell you exactly what that is yet because we're not done. And the one thing that I can tell you is
Cookies, coffee, chairs?
is right now, as far as their budget goes, because of various reasons, but the main reason is that this COVID thing had really thrown us for a loop. And when we started the building over here, this career and technical building, what had happened is that the prices of stuff just went crazy. We couldn't get stuff, parts or whatever. But see, what health and safety didn't cover, we had to cover basically out of our general fund. So there was no in our long-term facility planning money.
Right.
So that long-term facility money, you can only spend so much, and that's again, you have to earmark it ahead of time over a 10-year period.
Things.
What's that?
For specific things.
Yeah, for specific things. And so what we couldn't cover under health and safety in order to get the building operable, we did have to spend some money that way. That was one of the factors to the, last I heard, we were at about 300,000 in a hole at that point. And I really, and the other part of it is that, when you have a school budget, you have to have fund balance of a certain percentage by law. So, I believe it's 8 to 10% is what they require. And we were at 7. So, yes, sir.
Going back to the legal fund, and the cost of legal, working with attorneys, this isn't something that part of the board wanted to do with getting lawyers involved and using money for legal things. This isn't something that the whole board wanted to have happen because some situations that occurred. So I get a feeling that some people are trying to insinuate that you are the reason they're spending money on legal fees, which is not true. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, if
The whole board voted to do the investigation, not
Right.
just the three of us.
no,
And there were substantial complaints that had to be investigated. You couldn't just, it's not really happening. No, this was complaints from students, from parents, and they were substantial, and the investigation is not over, so we really can't discuss in detail, but they were serious.
but we followed the chain of command, which is basically when you have a problem at school, so basically the worst people to come to when you have a problem is this board member. You
We're the last.
you can talk to them about it, and then they can refer you to the chair. The chair is the next step up, and then of course the superintendent, depending upon what you're asking. If it has something to do with the school, whether it's be sports or odds and ends, and you and I talked about that when with the bus issue, that it has to go through. I can bring it to the board, or a board member can bring it to the board, and then discuss it with the board, and then involving the superintendent and everything, and then it goes to the basically the head of the department, in which our case it would have been the lead bus driver. And so there's different ways of going about stuff. I mean, just for somebody to take it on and go run with it as a single board member, you can't do that. I mean, you can go and investigate, and if you're on a committee, you go find your findings and you bring it back to the board, because the board is the one that has the final say. And yes, ma'am.
Back to the deficit part of what we're pretty much wondering about. I guess I missed part of the introductions because I was making sure my kids came to the right park. Sorry about that. But do you think, have you guys been around for the last inflation that had happened, in 2010s-ish?
No.
You know, those are things that maybe kind of keep in mind too, is how do we plan for some of this stuff, or is there even like a bumper that the government helps ease or anything like that?
The government did help a lot with funds during the COVID crisis. Yeah, that was very helpful. What happened in the economic collapse, 2007, 8, 9, we weren't on the board at that time. But that's a good question. We could go back to those board members and see what kinds of things that they did, because we're not just paying extra for all of the supplies to get the buildings done. We're paying extra for the food in the cafeteria for the kids. We're paying extra for all of the supplies that the school needs to run. It's everything.
Something that is important. If you really want to help the school out, and I encourage people, and we try to put this out there, if you have children in school and they send that form for you to fill out that talks about reduced lunch or whatever, fill it out, please, because that is one way that we get our funding.
Whether you know you can meet the standards or not,
Yeah.
you get so much for everyone that gets turned in, whether you're accepted or denied.
How much do you know?
I don't.
We were never told that.
I was never told exactly. I really don't know the exact number for that. But it is important.
I can be honest, I personally have not filled them out in a long time because I feel personally the government's just trying to get a little bit skinny
Yes.
on me, and I know I'm not going to get it. So I guess I'm going to be honest, I don't know if I'm the only one in the world that thought
No,
things
you're
like
not.
that.
But one thing I do want to add to the, we're talking about the budget, and one thing I will add to that is that, the COVID money that come, we were able to, Angela, our business manager, was able to secure enough money that where you could only spend it on certain things. You just couldn't go and just, okay, it's here, let's just throw it over here. You could not do that. And I believe we were able to secure a bus. We got a bus, or at least the biggest part of a bus, out of the COVID funds, which was great. The other thing was Chromebooks and hotspots and different things such as that, that the COVID money paid for.
Well, and all the students got free lunches last year.
Yeah,
because of COVID funds.
yeah. So that was really handy. I mean, I wish that with all of the state's deficit, or not surplus, that they have, I really wish that they would come across and provide free lunch for kids in school. That should be, I think it'd be a great thing. Because there's, during the COVID thing, my daughter worked at the courthouse. Well, she works at the courthouse. She's a court administrator. She deals with cases where the kids, during COVID, when the kids were out of school, the violence toward kids, all of that, the home abuse and all that just disappeared. And it didn't disappear because it wasn't happening. It disappeared because nobody was seeing those kids. They were there, but a lot of people don't realize that these kids, when they come to school, this is the only meal they get. And that's disturbing, So, I mean, these are things that, we have to work on as people. But there is money there that helped pay for some teachers and different stipends and things, and do the distant learning. So this is where some of that came up. Yes, ma'am.
Do any of you have a copy of the letter that you sent to all of us?
That's right there.
Yeah. Can you kind of explain to me the hot button issues and what those mean? What does that mean?
Is there something specific there that you didn't understand, Cheryl?
Yeah, number one, please give me some examples of when a child was deceived. Give me an example.
Oh, no, that's not.
Example.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
go ahead,
Okay,
Maria.
so my
And it's not,
first-
one moment,
No,
clarify,
no,
that's
clarify, it's
Yeah.
not children, it's parents being just kept in the dark or deceived about what happens with their kids at school. Go
Okay.
ahead,
Good.
Maria.
Well, wait a
child.
minute. No,
Okay.
no,
You don't
because
wanna hear
actually
it. I
it's,
got an example, but you
you're
don't wanna
right,
hear it.
but
all
it's
right.
actually, there.
Understand, okay.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Can you give me an example?
There is a push
Uh-huh.
throughout the country in the public schools
Okay,
for the schools not to notify parents when their children are identifying as the opposite sex.
Oh, wait, say that again.
There is a push throughout the country. In some states, it's actually against the law for schools to tell parents that their children are identifying as the opposite sex at the
Regardless of
school.
age. Okay,
Age, I don't know. Every state's probably different on which age
okay,
they're limiting it to.
okay.
So
Well, our
that's,
example of that was up front.
oh,
Well-
out front.
Out front.
Out front. That's a group or something?
They were scheduled to come speak to the students in January of last year, but the parents had not been notified
We weren't
about their,
notified.
The parents wasn't notified, and so when it came out, we got every Sunday night, we get a
Email.
board report
Okay.
from Ms. Belcastro, and she puts on, her list of events for that week and what's going on, and on a Tuesday, on her schedule was out front program. Okay, so we didn't know what's this out front program that you're going to show the students? And so when I think Cindy and Misty had dug into it and asked her, and she said, and she told them what it was, and she said, well, this is something that I think we really feel strongly that the parents should know about it first. And
We
so anyway, she decided to postpone the event.
Oh,
And so what the board asked is that we meet with the teachers, and the teachers and the board want to see this program. And so we sat through it, all the teachers in school and the board sat through it. And what it was about transgender, different pronouns. and
sensitivity training.
sensitivity training and a whole bunch of this stuff. And when it was somewhere along the line, Cindy asked the guy that was doing the presentation, is this the same one that you showed the kids? And he ignored her.
No, he didn't. He answered.
Well,
He
yeah,
said-
well,
he said, no,
after you
no,
asked
this
him the
isn't-
second
he
time.
said- oh, okay, I don't remember asking twice.
But anyway.
He said that there was somebody else. He named the person. He said they're the one that does the training for the students, and it's basically sensitivity training. And go ahead, Jack. You
But
were gonna-
anyway, this was not the same out front program that we seen.
Right.
And we said, we don't care about the one that you're showing the parents. We want to know what you're showing the kids. And we think that it's only fair that the parents have an opportunity to opt out. And so I know they do have the program. Kim has it, Ms. Belcastro has it, and we would like the parents to come in and look at it. Because
Prior to students
prior to
seeing
the
it.
students. Otherwise, and I did ask the school attorney, I said, is this a requirement? And he said, absolutely not. And I said, well, if it's not a requirement, why are we worried about it? But anyway, I still think that the parents should be aware,
And have the final say.
and have the final say.
Yeah.
Because it's just, some of these topics are, I believe, should be kept home for the parents to discuss some topics. It's not the school's job to do everything.
So how about number 2 then? That kind of goes into number 2, I think. What about that one?
This relates to the critical race theory that says non-white people are victims and are oppressed. And that's just, I don't think that we should be telling children that they're
No, wait, what did you say? White people, what did you say?
non-whites are being,
Non-white, okay.
are victims or being oppressed. I don't think that that's appropriate.
I
to
think,
tell
if
kids.
I might speak, I think there's a lot of confusion about what critical race theory is and whether or not it's actually taught in high school. I taught history in Rancho for over 20 years, 25 years actually, and I talked about a lot of different issues as a history teacher, and I certainly didn't teach critical race theory the way that a lot of people think history teachers are presenting it in the high school. Critical race theory isn't something that's in the Minnesota State Standards. It's not something that we see in our social studies curriculum. It doesn't get included in that. We do talk about Native Americans, we talk about African Americans, we talk about Mexicans, we talk about different racial groups. And I don't think there's really much question that some racial groups in America have been persecuted by people in America. Now, I don't want to go into the racial categories about who's persecuting who, but I do think it's something that needs to be discussed. And as a history teacher, I would certainly want to continue to have the right to talk about different racial groups in America.
I don't oppose teaching history at all, not at all. I don't want children growing up with this idea that they're somehow being abused by the people whose skin people around them whose skin is lighter than theirs. I don't want children believing that.
But you see, what you're concluding there is that the teacher who's presenting the information has a bias and is presenting his or her bias to the students.
Okay, there's
And I just might say that as a professional, it's not my job to present my bias to the students. I have to be non-biased
Yes,
as much
thank
as
you.
possible
Right.
and present both sides of an issue to the
Yes.
students. I think what critical race theory is something that is taught at a graduate level and college courses, and it isn't part of their curriculum for Minnesota high school students.
I think where a lot of the confusion is that, basically, it is a college course. They teach in colleges, and mostly, I suppose, I don't know if whether it be attorneys or if it be whatever. The thing of it is that critical race theory is really what it says, theory. It means unproven. It is an idea. It's just a theory. It doesn't have any basis. Is the way that it was explained to me by a college professor. And but what's happening is through the political things on both sides, and they're talking about it on depending upon which news you listen to. It's there's a lot of keywords that's throwing people off and upset people. I mean, anytime that you have some of the words that comes out in the Minnesota, as far as for instance, Minnesota School Board Association, when we did our strategic planning, come out across there. It had inclusion is one of the trigger factor words for some people.
diversity, inclusion, and equity is what they called it.
And the different things in that group is where people come out and, back, I'm trying to think when it was, a couple, 3 years, when all this was being a hot topic and everything, and it hit the school board, people were asking about it, and I think what got it going mostly is that, they were worried about it being taught, that was coming up and it was going to be taught. And so we made a statement on the school board that basically, I think it was that we do not teach it in Renshaw. That was a statement that we had put down and put it in there. And one board meeting, I made a motion that we will not teach critical race theory in District 100. And basically, okay, if we're not teaching it, why couldn't we put that in on as a policy then? And so, what would be the harm in doing that? But it got shot down. Yes, sir.
Wait, this gentleman had his hand up first.
Oh.
Yes,
Sorry.
good afternoon. I want to commend the teacher that's retired. I believe you retired 25 years.
30, actually.
I want to go back more than 25 years. I graduated in 1970. We had history, reading, writing, arithmetic, algebra, geometry, physics. Okay, the core items that need to be taught to children and students nowadays to get them forward in their lives and stuff is not being taught. It's being iced over, creamed over, however you want to say it, with political and biased views by teachers. Now, you might be a history teacher. I commend you for that and stuff. When I went to college and stuff, we didn't have inclusiveness in University of Washington over in Seattle, which is one of the most liberal colleges now in the nation. We never had it. Why now, all of a sudden, when you have the issue of critical race theory and inclusiveness coming into the teaching, History, yes, teach your history, but keep the political biases out. There's no room for that. I had my garage built over here by the class 2 years ago, so that went to Renshaw High School.
Yeah.
And most of the kids that was over there, when they talked to me about what was going on at school, because I'm always curious, you know, I graduated from here, what's going on in school over here? And 9/10 of them came and stuff and said, some of the teachers over there stuff, you know, we got the elections going on and stuff, and boy, you should hear what they say about Trump. They hate conservatives. They're downtrodden, him and stuff. I said, what does that got to do with teaching in school? That's what the kids were asking. We don't know, but we don't like it. So keep the opinions out of school and keep the teaching in. That's what I would say. So, and if we don't, as parents, get together on this, this is already the laughing stock of the county. Okay? Because of this. Because of the stuff that's being taught over there. So, and if you think these guys are going to, you know, fight fairly, forget it. They know how to fight, and they're going to fight as dirty as they can to change that school. They're already firing some people over there. The IT teacher's gone.
I'm done.
Yeah. She's gone. She's conservative. Who's coming next? The bus drivers? Come on, give me a break.
Excuse me, one second. Sir, I want to acknowledge that you've stated you did not teach with a particular bias, presenting all sides
I ask
equally.
my students at the end of the year,
Yeah.
am I a Democrat, a Republican, or you don't
Good
know?
for you.
They shouldn't
You know
know.
what they said? They said, we don't know. Because you
Thank
always
you.
presented, you always
That's how it should be.
that's how it should be.
Thank you.
In 2016, my grandson came home, who's in 7th grade now, you do the math, he came home and said, my teacher told me I'm supposed to tell my parents to vote for Hillary.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that.
And I just told him, in this
I'm
family,
sorry to hear that.
in this family, we think for ourselves.
I would have
You
had
sh-
my thoughts and opinions, but I would never have told my
Exactly, you can have your thoughts and opinions, but you shouldn't be putting your 2 cents into that student.
I will
The
say
gentleman-
Mr. Peterson
the gentleman
is,
over here had-
he was a great teacher there, history, and everybody, he had good rapport with the school, and we thank you for your years. I mean, I used to teach driver's ed, and I'd come in and do share the road programs and stuff, and it was enjoyable. So I commend you. Yes, sir.
This gentleman.
I just want to jump on what you said. What was the goal for teaching American history when it comes to critical race theory today?
What is the goal?
Like, what is the intent for the student to know? When I went to school, we learned about Jim Crow laws, we learned about the Civil Rights Movement, we learned about American history. Good, bad, ugly, it doesn't, you know, that's what we learned. But what's the goal now? So my daughter just came back, she just had was it an assignment? It had nothing to do with history, but it had to do with Jim Crow. And when it was all said and done last night, this was last night, believe it or not, she goes, Dad, do white people hate black people? And that's what she got out of the assignment. I go, why do you mean? Well, my teacher showed me a video, and white people were beating up black people, and they were shoving their heads into the toilets, and they were doing this, and she was pretty shooken about everything. And as you know, we have, I don't think she's in school anymore, but we have a black child from in the community, and her name was brought up, and the teacher brought up about what could happen there with her. So what's the goal of them teaching what? So when you ask the teachers, is the priority ethnicity, gender, and climate, and if that's the priority, well, the priority should be, like that gentleman said, is the academics. That's why Renshaw's ranked 327th out of 472 schools.
We're 9th out of 9 in our county.
My oldest daughter, I'll have a total of 5 daughters that go to Renshaw. I have 5 daughters. And my oldest daughter already graduated. She and her friends are at the house. I kind of took it on my mission. I probably talked to over 20 graduates in the last 3 years. Every single one of them said that Renshaw did not prepare them for college.
No.
That is what they said. Most of them have dropped out. Most of them had to do remedial training or schooling. Test scores are awful. So when you have a group of people that have the priority of these issues instead of preparing our children, that's an issue. That's a huge issue. And then when my daughter, who has, mixed families, we have a lot of mixed family, Native, Black in our family, never talked about race. But now she has done assignments at Renshaw, and now she's asking questions, and she's scared, and she's confused. And
That's a shame.
yeah, it is.
You know what, that, hold your thought. That's exactly what I'm saying in number 2 here. I don't want these children growing up
Questioning.
thinking they're victims or that the lighter skinned people around them are going to beat them up. That makes me want to
That's what I'm
cry.
saying. We grew up in a family that is very diverse, very loving, caring. And now my daughter's, because of these assignments, because of these, I don't want to say
Teaching.
teachers, but whatever's going on, we are being seen, because I have no idea what my kids are being taught. And when they come home, and it's unbelievable the questions they have, or what they say to me, or the graduates from Renshaw. And I find it very condescending that you have teachers, we have teachers that grew up in the area, that have a vested interest in the area. This is kind of horrible to say, but Renshaw is not a priority for teachers or principals or superintendents. They apply out to a lot of different places, and they fall here because they can't get a job anywhere else.
That's not
Pay's not that great. Options for students and teachers aren't that great. So now what do we get? We get a quagmire of what?
I don't want to argue with you, but
I know, I keep talking.
no, Renshaw, 81% of the budget goes to wages and benefits. So the pay here is good. It's
But-
better than average. 73% is average.
Well, we don't mind paying. We
Well,
have taxpayers. A good school increases our property value.
But you want to pay for an
Exactly right.
education.
But you want to get the
Exactly.
education.
So I mean, we're actually, me and her are talking about taking all of our kids out of Renshaw right now.
Yeah, we already did,
Yeah, I mean,
2 years ago.
it's to the point where, when you sit behind teachers over at the streetcar or in the community and you hear them talk and they don't know who you are, or you hear them refer to themselves as the squad. You have teachers that refer to themselves as the squad. And then they refer to us as a bunch of hicks. They refer to us as uneducated, or poor, or all these things. Me and my wife, we make good money. We choose to be in Renshaw. We're here because we want a small town. We want a small school. And, yeah.
We need you to come to more board meetings.
Yes.
See, what we are up against is they think it's us three
Yes. Yes.
that are trying to stop these things, not the parents.
But if the parents talking to you guys.
Well, there's no
over
talking to
and over
them.
again.
There's no talking to them. The
You have
only
power
way
in numbers.
money talks. You take the kids at, what is it, $15,000 a student?
10.
10, what? Yeah, you take the kids out. You
Well,
don't
problem-
pass levies, you don't approve anything. That's what's gonna
I
happen.
went to the Meet the Candidates on Tuesday evening, and I was kind of appalled that the teachers were the ones asking candidates the questions.
And I have a lot of those questions right here that I'd like to.
That's part of the reason why, while I didn't go, I didn't think it should have been in the school, and it shouldn't have been the teachers asking the questions. It should have been the community
The
members.
community members couldn't ask the group. You could stay after and you could talk to them individually, but you could not, have them all sit there and answer your questions. So everybody was scattered, you could talk to them individually, what good does that do? You can't just get together.
It's attack.
Wayne had his hand up.
That sounds dirty play because.
Wayne?
I appreciate your words. You, in my view, you are so fortunate, probably one of the very few, where you have a rapport with your kids. So honest and so true. Where the kids overall are facing this, but they don't have this rapport at home. So many. I have a diverse family. It's every color from shiny black to golden brown and in between. I mean, that's not an issue. When you start bringing up this racial, all of a sudden it wasn't an issue. Now we're teaching this issue. But so I just commend you for that, to be able to do that, and your children, you do an awesome job. And Mr. Peterson, my kids have had you, an awesome teacher. The standard of teachers is, we talk about it's not my dad's Cadillac. That's what you are when it comes to teachers. And that's sad in one way. We have some excellent teachers in the school.
Yes,
We
we
still
do.
do. We're not throwing the baby out in the wash. And so we have to concern, as the parents, as the teachers, as the board, to come together. I made a comment at the meeting the other night with Mary. I'm so glad to see her. Remember what I told you? We're not here to make friends. It's the board. When they're sitting on that side of the bench, we're here to make it right. And you can't do it without everybody in it. We just can't vote them in and then say, okay, I don't have to do this for another 4 years. A lot of people have that. So, it's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Wayne.
Hi again.
I came here tonight to see what you three were going to talk about as far as the candidacy and what you were going to do on the school board to help our school. And it feels to me like this is devolving into pointing fingers at teachers.
I agree.
And making comments about our, critical race theory, which we don't even have, and people watching videos and coming home with concerns. Did you ask your daughter if it was a real video?
Yes.
Because that did happen.
No, that's not,
happened.
the issue isn't that. I'm all for teaching that. The issue is what is the intent and what are the kids getting out of
Did
it?
you ask the teacher what the intent was? Because I remember watching a video about some ducks getting burned alive in 7th grade, and the video wasn't to torture me. The
See,
video
but
was talking about fighters.
It's just not this one issue. I mean, I
But you
don't.
go to the teacher and ask them.
Yeah, Can we stop for a second?
I can talk to you.
Yes, I have gone to teachers. They lie. I don't care. I'm just telling you.
Okay,
What's her name?
let's stop. Stop for a minute. Ma'am, at the door? We spoke at the very, very beginning about our roles and our activities and the service that we've provided the school through our time on the board. I think
keep
that
talking about that and not do what you're doing now?
No, what happened is she asked a question.
we opened the
regarding
floor
letter.
to questions.
Right, but your answers as a board seem very unprofessional. You're making comments about teachers who work at our school. We're supposed to be coming together to find out.
They did, and I did.
No, we weren't the ones talking
I'm
about
the one
the
that brought it up.
teachers. These folks were, and Miss Cheryl over here was pointing out the questions that were on the letter that we sent
I want all 4
out.
of them addressed if possible before the end of this. And we're only on number 2.
Yeah.
I'm concerned because I want to hear more about what you're saying, and I'm sorry I missed the beginning, but I kind of want to hear what you're saying. Is like, answer him and say, well, let's figure out how to go to the teacher and do your concerns and stuff, and it doesn't.
The chain of command, he would have to go to Miss Belcastro.
Oh, the
To the teacher first,
Teacher first, then
the
Miss Bel.
principal, then Miss Belcastro.
Well, I
and
could
then the
explain
board.
to you outside of this, of the complexity of it, and why I wouldn't do
I
that.
had 3 kids graduate from here. I have 3 grandkids and another child in this school.
I could give you the
Okay.
complexities of it
So,
outside of this.
Folks, what I don't want this to do is devolve into an argument
No, there's
between
no argument.
community members. Yeah, you're fine. You're
Right,
fine.
and I'm not here to argue.
So-
I'm just saying I'm concerned.
And these folks have valid questions for us to answer, and we'd like to answer them. Thank you, though, for your comments.
But I didn't come here to cut down teachers, or that's not my goal. Because we have some fantastic teachers, we really do. We've got some over there that go beyond, way beyond.
Well, I don't
And-
think we're talking about
We want
this.
better education
But
for our
I
students.
can say that when you're saying stuff like that, when you're grouping teachers together, I am a teacher over there, and I can tell you that I feel very hurt because I'm looking at how, and I'm here tonight because I want to hear what you have to say.
You're
And
hurt
I can
because
tell
I-
you
you're
just
hurt
how
because I
it's
said
all
that?
being approached as teachers. Because I am open and I want to come and hear what you have to say and what your thoughts are, and I'm being open and I am trying to
Well,
look
don't take
at
it personal.
all of this and make my own decision. And honestly, I feel like it is kind of an attack on teachers.
It's a attack on those teachers that did that.
But you're not saying that. You're saying, you guys have said all the teachers over there, the teachers this, the teachers that. I'm sitting here as a Renshaw,
I said a teacher.
Renshaw resident. We've lived here for about 20 years. And I've come to hear what you guys have to say.
Okay.
And I feel like it's been the teachers this, the teachers that. It's not all teachers. Now I'm starting to hear this after she brought up, well, there are great teachers over there.
Right?
That's not what I've heard so far. All that I've heard is how bad it is. And I'm sitting here wanting a lot of information and trying to figure out who I want to vote for. And I can tell you by what I've heard tonight, just sitting here, it feels like an attack on teachers. I went Tuesday night to hear what those candidates had to say. I came tonight to hear what these candidates have to say. I have been very open-minded and felt like I want to do what's best for our community and best for our kids. And it doesn't feel like
So you
this
don't-
has been very
Okay.
I just want to say one thing.
No, please
hopeful,
stop.
I guess, is what I'm
Please
looking
stop.
for, because I feel like I have lived here for 20 years. I taught, last year was my first year there, so I don't know a lot of the background of where the school board has been and what it's gone through. So that's why I came tonight. I was excited to hear. Because Jack, when you spoke the other night, I could hear in your voice how passionate you were about some of the things that you have really brought to Renshaw. And I didn't know those things. And listening to you guys sit up there and share some of your background of how you've been in the community and how long you've lived here, and your kids go here, your grandkids here. Dad, you have 4 generations going here. I didn't know any of those things. That's why I came tonight. I want to know where you guys are coming from, what you're going to bring, and it feels like I am almost in here sitting here as a teacher listening to all this.
I don't think you've
So-
heard us.
I'm just saying, you're not
Bad-mouthing
stopping
the
it.
teachers.
You're not backing your teachers, and you're supposed to be on the board. So you're not backing
At the
anything
same
of what,
time, we
you're
need
not
to
stopping that from trashing teachers that are sitting here.
At the same time, we
I
need
didn't
to
hear an
respect
attack on
community
teachers.
members.
I heard an attack on critical race theory.
I'm not even talking about critical race theory or anything. I'm just saying, like, we're supposed to be trying to pull the community to come together. Like, we're trying to change this negativity that's everywhere and pull everybody together. That's what I want for my kids. That's what I want for me as a staff person. That's what I want for you as a board. To be able to come to board meetings and be working towards what do our kids need? What does our community need? Because there is nothing more important in this community or any other community than the school. Like, that's where our kids start. That's where our families go. That's where your grandkids go. Like, that's what I want, is for everyone to come together and make this be more positive.
Okay, so I need to stop. Could we step back a little bit? We didn't plan this event to devolve into community members arguing with each other. That wasn't what it's about, okay?
Or discussing.
Let's answer some questions that are related to our work on the school board.
I think some of the concern too is what comes down from the Department of Education and onto the teachers and onto the students. And to me, that's kind of a big concern. I know my grandchildren are being home, they don't go here, but they're being homeschooled just because of some of the things they were being exposed to in the schools where they're living now. And our granddaughter is now going to a Lutheran school just because it was getting so out of hand, and she didn't want to be there, she didn't want to go there just because of some of the things that were going on and some of the things she was being taught. It was very uncomfortable. And I think a lot of it is coming down, and I feel sorry for the teachers because it's almost like in a lot of institutions too, where a lot of this stuff is coming into different banking, hospitals, everything. You have to do things a certain way, and you can be penalized. The company can be penalized if you don't do it. And I'm sure teachers have a lot of this coming down on them. And I think my concern, even though I don't have kids here anymore or anything, is some of the stuff that they are being taught, even with the transgender stuff, the encouragement that, do you really know what you are, or you've got a tomboy and all of a sudden they're being fast-tracked into becoming a boy or a girl or whatever. I don't know how legitimate that is. I don't know how real it is. But from the things I've heard, you know, not here, but in other places, you know, it's happening where these kids are coming out so confused. My granddaughter, I'm not going to say where she went to school in Minnesota before they moved to Wisconsin, but she is in the 8th grade now, and last year, 7th graders, her friend, when she was being homeschooled, her friends would, from the school she went to, these girls that she had been friends with since kindergarten, they're changing their names to boy names. They're wrapping their chests really tight in binders. You know, they're cutting their beautiful hair off. You know, it's freaky. It's like they're confused. And I know some of it is probably a fad. You know, it's cool. I'm going to do this. I'm going to be this because it's probably cool to them. But I don't know. To me, it's confusing. To her, it was confusing. And anybody that truly is gay or truly is transgender, how is that appearing to them when all of a sudden these kids are, oh, this is so cool, I'm going to do this. And they're in the background thinking, you know, this is what I truly am. You know, am I being mocked? You know, so to me, a lot of that craziness, and I don't, you know, I think that teachers, I think, you know, I'm sure a lot of this is coming down on you, and it's not stuff you probably really want to do, you know, but I think there, and I, like I said, it's in hospitals, it's everywhere, and I know there's nurses and physicians that don't want to be doing things, but they have to do it, and it's coming down on them. So how do we deal with that kind of stuff, you know, in a smaller community? You know,
I have a suggestion. We're all really passionate here. I hear it in our voices. And we're here to find out what you think about things. Yeah. So how about if we ask you questions and you answer the questions, and then I'll keep out of, I won't have a discussion, I won't say anything. We'll ask you questions and you'll answer. That's what we're here for.
That's the intent of the meeting then.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, I've got a question for each one of you. Okay? Jack, I'll start with you. In the vein that you were just talking about, this LGBTQ plus and marginalized kids, it's a very real thing. And it doesn't just happen in school, it's everywhere. Okay, these kids are picked on, they're bullied, they're trying to be who they are. There isn't really confusion if you're truly that. You do get, you know, I mean, I'll say it, my son is gay. Do I have a problem with that? Absolutely not. If you listen to what goes on, if you know what goes on in their life, it's terrible, the things that go on, just so they can be who they are. Then you have people whispering about them, talking about them. I'm glad they stand where they stand. I'm glad they're honest, like Chloe the other night. Man, kudos to them. Do you know the battles they have to fight and what rights you have to make a judgment on them? So my question to you, Jack, is how do you plan to serve this population and understand that education is probably the last thing on their list because they're getting so bullied, picked on, anything you can think of is happening to them. So you have to have something that stops some of this, that helps them heal, helps them be accepted. What would be your plan for that?
Well, I tell you what, I addressed this in a school board meeting one day when the Gay Alliance Club come and they were there, and I told them, I said, you know what? I said, we're here to offer you an education. We're here to make sure you are safe, you have a safe environment, and you're not to be bullied. And we did pass a bullying. There was a bullying clause, but a policy, yeah, as a part of that. And the thing of it is, there shouldn't be anybody bullied. I don't care what religion. I don't care what political. I don't care if you're gay, straight, or trans, or whatever. Everybody has a right to live. Everybody has a right not to be bullied, and everybody has a right to get a good education. And we, as a board member, we are responsible. And when I hear of kids getting beat up or getting picked on, and it makes my blood boil. And you know, and our job is to love these kids and make sure that they are well taken care of. But I don't necessarily believe that, that it has to be within school, because we're not there at school every day to watch these kids. It's impossible for us to be there. But the teachers, and we've tried to get policy set so that there's no bullying, and we also need to have somebody that's willing to step up and actually, we do have a couple of people over there that one person just come on board as a paraprofessional with he's an ex-cop, and he kind of roams the halls and makes sure, these are some of the things that has taken place this year. But as far as, we have to educate people, and they did have a bullying program at the beginning of school, and this is what we pushed all along, is that, if you're gonna, if you're going to, people got to be able to speak up and let us know. And those people that are doing all this stuff has to be dealt with. And the problem is with the bullying that's going on in school, and I'm going to tell you something, I don't think there's been as much bullying in school in the past as there has been since COVID had started and the kids coming back, to be honest with you. And when they first come back, they were like herding cats. I mean, you had little fourth graders going down the hall throwing F-bombs, and so principal called the parent up, and they'd start throwing F-bombs at them, and what about it? What are you going to do about it? I mean, it all revolves back to us trying to teach these kids and have programs for these kids about bullying, because there's nothing worse than a bully. I was bullied when I was growing up. I was the biggest kid in the class, and everybody thought everybody wanted to fight.
I think everybody goes through bullying. I mean, I went through it because I was needed. Everybody goes through that. Okay, you have the GSA. Now, I know some of those kids that are on there, and they've talked to me. They said, we've tried to do things with the board, but they're denying us so much that will be so useful to us. And then that frustrates the heck out of them. And the other thing is, when Pride Month was going on, they put up all their signs and whatever, and these kids came behind and tore them down, part of the bullying tactics. And my mom and dad are Trump people, and we're going to put up Trump signs. What the heck did that have to do with anything? But that's what they're dealing with. So that truly, it's rather sick is what it is.
There has to be consequences for the kids who are doing that. And that's part of the problem. We have bullying, anti-bullying stuff in place, but we're not there to make sure that it gets implemented.
You don't have to be there to get it implemented.
Well, yeah, but we need to learn about it. I'm not aware, Cheryl, apart from the out front presentation, which we're willing to do if we could just get the steps in place. We still haven't gotten the program aired, for the parents. But I'm not aware of anything else that the GSA students have asked for that we haven't given them. No. It hasn't come before.
It's just been, kids have shared with me.
It hasn't come before the full board.
One time they come to the board and we passed it. They wanted to.
I'm just saying because they're very upset because it's like some of these kids are like, what do we have to do? Keep talking. Keep talking.
Well,
keep
asking, come to the board.
Keep talking.
They haven't.
Well, they're going to start a student council now, so you will be seeing that. They will come and present. And the concerns from them are very real. So as like Burnell said, geez, I was in education for 35 years. You gotta listen. You gotta listen. You gotta put you aside and you've gotta listen.
But they gotta talk too.
But if they get shut down, a kid is being a kid. They're not going to talk all the time.
When Ms. Swanson presented to the board a couple weeks ago, that's the first the board heard about any of that, about the book, the parent being upset. We knew nothing about that until she was speaking to us. God's honest truth.
Okay, we'll move along. Cindy, I have a question for you. I want you to explain what you're going to do to have an open, trusting, honest, transparent, positive relationship with teachers, staff, and the community.
Okay, so the board has very limited interaction with the teachers. The board's role is high-level oversight over the school. That's in statute. Our primary responsibilities are to assure the financial stability of the school and the performance of the superintendent. And then we have secondary roles to deal with curriculum and policies. Kim is the teacher's supervisor, and Kim is teaching Michelle to have that role. So it's those two that have authority over the teachers. We're actually told in our MSBA training that we're not supposed to interfere with the supervisory relationship between the superintendent and the principal and their staff, their employees.
That is not interfering. I can promise you.
So, Cheryl, what do you think we should do in relation to the teachers?
You have got to get, teachers don't want you living in the classroom, but I had school board members come through. I had them interact with my kids. What's your concern? Miss Cheryl, what do you think about this? What can we do? What can we do to help you? I'm not saying make that an everyday practice.
Okay.
Like, how do you make policy if you don't know what she's got going on in her classroom and what's really important to her, maybe on a personal level? She shared her personal level.
Yeah.
How moving. But you don't know that.
We're also told repeatedly to follow the chain of command. If teachers have concerns, they're supposed to go to the principal. If they don't get satisfaction there, they go to the superintendent. If they don't get satisfaction there, they come to the board.
But there's a human side to this.
If they come directly to us, we're to redirect them to the principal. Proper chain of command is how we're taught to do it.
But it's not just strictly.
Can you limit the amount of time a question?
Yeah, we can't
Maybe
let
3 minutes?
particular individuals
Because there's
dominate.
lots of people here that want to ask.
Yeah.
Okay,
ask
one
some
more quick
questions.
question to Deb. What skills and qualities do you have to be an effective school board member? A strong point, a weak point?
Strong point, I love this community and I love this school. Weak point, I don't stand up enough for myself, for the community.
But I do want to address something that you did bring up, that it's important. I know right before the COVID hit, we had a extremely rambunctious 8th grade, and it was interesting because I was at a meeting at the school one day, and Miss North was sitting there, and it was her class, and so I said, she looked at me and said, "You want to know about those kids?" Says, "Come on." So I went and I sat through her 8th grade and her 9th grade class that day. And what I'd seen was a little on the, it made me sit back and go, wow. And the deal was it was, I don't know, it took them, they got about, out of the whole time they were in there, they probably did about 10, 12 minutes of actually where it got quiet in there. The rest of the time, there was one kid sitting there, and this is a problem. I mean, it's, the easiest kid to teach is an A student if he is enough to keep digging and stay busy, but this kid, he comes in, he sits down like this, and he sat like that the whole hour. He got up once, walked out of the room, went to the bathroom, come back in, sat down, and then after she got done explaining everything, he said, "What are we doing?" And I looked at her like, and he turned. She said, and he had a handout, and she said, "Take this home and do it." And okay, he wadded it up, stuck it in his pocket, and out he went. And I asked her, I said, "This particular, what's the background? Do you know that, what can we do to make this change?" And of course, most people's first instinct would say, "Well, let's get the teacher and tell her to come down on them," but it's not that simple, is it? It's not that simple. But, this goes back to the teachers need help. The parents have got to take control over their kids. They've got to put limitations on them. And this thing right here is the worst thing that you can give a kid, period.
There needs to be more respect from the students to the teachers.
But it was eye-opening, and I agree with you. Everybody should go in and sit down, and you guys running for school board, you get on, I strongly recommend it. It's eye-opening.
Next. Other questions? Paul?
So what do you, as a board, what are you guys doing to bring up the numbers in the Renshaw school? I think the numbers are atrocious, actually, you know.
Are you talking
couple
about
years
the
ago-
enrollment numbers or the
No,
scores?
the actual MDA numbers on school scores, because it's been crap.
When I brought that up, when I first got on the board and pointed out that we were, in Carleton County, there are 9 public schools and we're 9 out of 9. I got told there's more to a student than a test score.
Yeah.
I bring it up all the time. I don't know, how do we get them to do it?
That's what we're wondering, is if you guys can give us some insight on how maybe you could possibly help that.
Well, there are so many levels. One level is that in order to bring up the scores, you would have to teach to the test. And that may not be optimum education for any child. So there's a question there. We're not, what's that?
But I can tell you this. This is what is really weird, is that, you know how they take those, what do you call those tests now, Mr. Burnell? Yeah. Well, they take at the end of the school year or whatever, when they do all that testing, did you know that the student doesn't have to do it if he doesn't want to? She doesn't want to? They can opt out of
The
it.
parents can opt.
And so and the parents can let them opt out.
But that counts as a failed
And
test.
so this is another reason that why that has effect to it. And that's not the only thing that affects it. I mean, you have to remember that, you know, we have a pretty good population, special needs kids, different levels. When they come in as special needs, it doesn't mean that they're like, it varies from emotional to, some people have a hard time learning, other people, you know, but they have been working with them, and we have.
Jack, hold your thought for a minute. We have almost a third of our population is special needs.
Yeah. And
Are they from out of?
They're both.
they're both. We have, and the thing with that, you know, that also has to do with the test scores too. And, you know, you don't want to say that, but, you know, we do, we're not just a school that we, you know, trying to get, you know, the people to come here because they're special needs. That's not what our goal is.
We
Our
want
goal is
students to
help
come
them.
here to learn.
And if they come here and they get an education they can't get anywhere else, then I guess, you know, so be it. But at the same time, it comes with consequences, and that's probably one of them with the test scores. Yes.
50 years ago and stuff, if we would have had a meeting like this, we would have had the gymnasium full. And that kind of like tells you and stuff, that comparison of where parents are involved with their children. So my question to you guys is, how do you guys get the parents, not only the special needs kids, but all kids
From
of all
outside
races,
county, too.
ethnicities, whatever, how do you get those parents involved? Because I know there's a lot of parents out there, single parents or not single parents, that are just don't care. That school's a babysitting area. So how do you guys get more parents? How can you get more parents involved?
Other than begging them to come and partake, Jack has tried for 3 years now.
What have you done
Giddy.
to try?
Excuse me?
What have you done to try? Like what have you tried to get?
He
them?
was trying to get strengthening family program started in the community ed.
I think the best action isn't the board.
It's the
If you have a
parents.
neighbor that isn't going in and they got kids, go over there and say, hey, there's a meeting tonight, let's go. I'm driving. Oh, you can buy pie.
There is.
Because our kids are our future.
That's what community is. I mean, and the board is just supposed to referee our actions. You know, we say we don't want our kids doing this, and everybody, you know, and we want our kids, we want this in there. We want more math. We want more science. We want more ed. But so it gets to be the we. That's their job. And so as a community, you know, every one of us, we talk about, well, there's people that don't care. Well, I've got a neighbor down the road. You know, they got 3 or 4 kids, and they care kind of a lot at home, but you know, it comes back into the school thing. half of it is babysitting time. And so that gets back into this to say, I'm not paying taxes for you that to be sloughing off here. You know, so that's a responsibility we have to take, and it's not easy, especially when we've drifted so far away from it in the last 30 years since we've been in school for 40 years. And that's just.
Well, what I want to say about the family strengthening program, this is a program. It's not just, it's designed for families to help counsel families on how to be a family. That's part of it. The board passed this. I think the first year I was in it a year, and we passed this, and so we were going to run it through community ed. And so then some things got changed up or whatever, and we're hoping.
COVID happened.
And COVID happened, and so what this is not just the Strengthening Families program. It's basically it also, if kids are having a hard time, or it is helping the parents teach the parents how to be parents and to help, and also help them how to get the kids to do their work, their homework, and everything else. My middle son, Lord knows you remember him. And you got homework? No. I said, you don't have homework? No. You got it all done? No. So, we battled this. Mr. Brunel, you very well knows how it goes. And, you get to the point where, people get frustrated as parents. And so I can't, whether we're on the board next time or not, or if you guys are, please push this program. It's something that's needed strongly.
At what point would you really pull these parents in where they have kids that are disrupting it for everybody else?
No, it's for families. I mean, like
It's a
this gentleman
volunteer
over
I'm
here.
not talking about the program that you were talking about. I mean, like, just in general in school.
That's not up to us, that's the
No, I know
day-to-day.
that. I know that. But are there any policies or anything that, that the superintendent, the principal, the teachers, there's got to be something when you have one or two kids that are totally disrupting everything, and the other
And
kids
we've
are
had that
suffering.
problem before.
Is there
Where
anything that can be done about that? Are these parents being held responsible for their child's behavior?
yeah, I think that some of the stuff that has happened in the past is they would pull the kid out of the class, or the child, and put them into more one-on-one, and try to work it that way for a while. As far as
public school, it's harder because you're limited on, what you can do, but
yeah,
it seems like it's good. I remember with my son, I said, anything that comes up, I want to know right away. I want you to call me and deal with it, So I don't understand why.
well, I will.
Parents can't have some responsibility for this behavior.
Correct, and in this case right here, it has to go back with the parent-teacher. If I would suggest that anybody that goes has children enrolled in school, the first thing they do is they go meet the teacher, and they go to the teacher and say, look, if you're having problems with anything, I want you to address it with me. Call me. And man, you didn't want that happening with my dad, because Miss Rosie had a paddle and she used it.
Well, yeah, parents are,
So the kids represent money. So if you take a disruptive kid and you put them in ALC, and you lose money.
Correct.
So there's a lack of discipline in the school, partly, maybe, possibly, because you don't want to lose kids. So you put up with a lot. So, and you don't want to deal with, a lot of times you get a disruptive kid. I worked in probation for 25 years, juvenile. You get a disruptive kid, and you confront the kid, and then you give the parent a phone call, then you have a disruptive parent. Because a lot of times they've learned what they're doing from their parents. So then you have all the, how many teachers have time to deal with a toxic parent?
You don't.
And you don't. It's an awful situation. And it's sad that kids represent money,
Right.
so you put up with stuff.
Well, let me tell you on a budget point, you're right. Each kid is worth $10,000, and sometimes some special needs kids are probably worth more, because, you know, and if we have special needs kids in our district that we can't do anything for, in other words, if we don't have the facility to take care of them, it's our responsibility to pay the transportation to wherever they are, wherever they need to go. So that's what we do.
Yeah, there's some
But
cocaine.
back to that, what you pointed out there, I really hope and that we could push more. If we have disrupted people, you know, it comes to a certain point where you have to cut the ties because it's affecting the whole. And it's going to be less money. Yes, it's going to be less money, but sometimes you have to take that burden and
But it's
get
better
rid of
for
it.
the other students.
But if it is less money, then it's gonna raise the academic progress within the school.
If-
And you see that, you may bring other kids in that are gonna try harder.
That's what I'm hoping for.
So, yeah, if you have these kids that you're bringing in just to get the $10,000 or whatever, and I feel bad for the kids, you know, because a lot of them, you know.
They didn't
who
ask
knows
for
what
that.
situations are coming from, but you gotta consider all these kids too.
But that's also day-to-day stuff that
Yeah,
That
Ms.
has-
Bel Castro,
I know that, I know that.
that the board doesn't
We don't
deal
hear
with.
that.
A lot of that too is like, you might have a behavior plan, I dealt with a lot of behaviors.
Yeah.
You have a behavior plan for a child, you work with this child, what you're doing with the child, state just passed something, you can no longer do it that
Right.
way. Now you gotta figure out a whole new can of worms, because I can't treat this child this way anymore. So a lot of it isn't the teacher or the people that are working, and you're right, one kid can destroy everything that's going on in a classroom. And unfortunately, they get away with it because the state sometimes has said,
Can't
you
do
can no
that.
longer do this.
And that's where that becomes.
It is, it is a very difficult situation for the teachers, it really is. So you've had some fabulous questions, but let's see if there are other questions. And then maybe after we're done, you can come up and chat with us individually. Other questions there? Hi, Carolyn.
I got another question. I guess if, could you tell us what percentage of the school over here now is open enrollment at $10,000 a child? And if we're $300 or $300,000 upside down, and say 50% of that school is open enrollees, that's 1.75 million. Would we still be able to staff this school, or would this school be over with?
The school
No.
would be,
Yeah,
know what?
well, okay, go ahead, Nancy.
I think the school-
I've heard what our percentage open enrollment is.
Yes, I don't know what the percentage, but I would say it's probably close to 50%.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for open enrollment, I don't believe Renshaw would be open. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah, because we don't have the numbers
We don't
handy
have-
right now.
But I
Renshaw
wanna,
is not a family-oriented town anymore like it used to be.
You
Well,
mean,
we used to have the refinery and other
Right.
businesses out here, which you have, and big families.
Right.
Walsh's, Conley's, and,
well,
LeBeau's.
yeah, but one thing, but I would like to address this part of it. You know, of course, when the budget is set for the following year, when you come in, you have to, like if you kind of go off of your numbers that you had for enrollment, like last year. Last year at one time, we were at pretty close to 370. And then for some reason or another, when you get to midterms, it seems to drop or it picks up, one of the two. It can either go either way. And sometimes, so what happens is the money follows the kid wherever they end up. So if they started here and then moved to Cloquet, then Cloquet would get their money. So what the deal is when you, the tricky part is guessing, is basically what you're going to do. So this year, say right now, the current enrollment right now, I believe is probably, I know it stated that it was 352, but I think it's probably really closer to the 340s somewhere. And which is alarming because when we set the budget, they come in, they probably set the budget at 358.
6, I think it was, wasn't it? John?
Three-
356.
I think it was
Yeah, or somewhere in there.
356.
So, I mean, I got
So
all
you
these.
make your plans off the 356, but reality is we're at
And
340.
so every time the money pulls out and you've got your budget set, yes, it creates a problem, and it gets nervous. I mean, we're nervous right now because that's, unless we have more people coming in, and we're not sure. I mean, we as a board aren't sure because we don't have access to the current attendance because we have people that may have left the district, and when they left, of course, they might still be on the roll over there until they catch up with it next time. So right now, Angela is in the process of doing a revision on the budget. So so we're waiting for that.
Yeah, can I say something?
Yes.
So the school's fiscal year runs from July 1 to June 30th, and prior to June 30th, there's a deadline we have to meet for projecting the budget for the next fiscal year. We have to guesstimate what our expenses are going to be, we have to guesstimate what our enrollment is going to be, and those numbers have to come close to matching. And so at the time that we put together the budget, we estimated a student population or an enrollment of 356, and we're not there right now, and that's part of why the 300,000 deficit.
So these all come into play, you know. It's just I wished I had. Yes, sir.
Didn't it go from something around the 350s last year to 370? I mean, there was a change last year. The numbers increased dramatically. So
The numbers change throughout the whole school year.
So
They do.
Yeah.
it's a moving target that
Correct.
causes anxiety, but it's every year it's that way.
And
Just to,
yeah, it's now midterms we might have an influx of 10, 15 kids. You know,
You just never know.
or none at all, or if it could go the other way. But you know, but one positive note about this thing you have to remember, we got the CTE building over here. I guarantee you, once we get this curriculum up and running, the goal is it's going to bring. Okay, if you're going to talk marketing, this thing is going to bring a ton of people in. Kids coming in if we do it right. We have to do it right. We have to do it smart. And to do it that way is yet to come, because it's going to take us probably a year or two to develop everything the way we want it and get to working. I don't know, how many of you, were any of you gone to the, you went to Tiger Town or Tiger,
Wherever that was.
Wisconsin?
Yeah, a group of us went.
And that is one of our goals, is to get it there and to, you know, and then we would be able to bring people in. And I really do believe that once this gets set up right, we have endless possibilities here.
What's holding it back? Financing?
Financing, yeah, because like I said, some of the technical stuff in the building was not covered under health and safety. It had to come out of the general fund. We had to come up in our long-term facility money. We used up a lot of that. And just so you know, when we did all this through the health and safety, we got a lot of the school fixed. Okay, but we didn't get it all fixed. And as you recall, we had failed referendums, and some of them I didn't like, and the ones that I did that we should have jumped on was I think the number 2, because shortly after that everything went up through 2.75% increase, and then with this COVID and everything in the middle of the construction part of it, it's been a killer. But you know. On the positive side, we got more done as a community and as a school than we probably would have. Otherwise, we wouldn't have ever done it if we'd have sat around and kept trying to pass referendums. It's impossible, but I'm just forewarning you right now. Tuck pointing. Tuck pointing is a big deal in this school. We got the whole east side of the building. Chopper's there, he knows, and the east side of the whole building needs tuck pointing again. And if we fix the inside, we haven't got all the inside fixed either. We need hot water in certain areas, in the elementaries, and so all this. And I've talked a little bit about it, and I'll talk more to you guys about it. And this goes back from the lack of oversight in '98. And a lot of people don't know it, but how many people went by and you seen the classrooms with the windows open and 20 below outside, and half of them were, they'd either had the windows open or they had them closed. They were freezing or they were friendly hot. Friendly hot. That's what my kids would say. It was hot in there. And then the next one they'd freeze to death. So what the deal was there was 2 big air vents, return air vents. You know where they were? They went right under the school, right on into underneath the science room, buried in the wall.
Dead ended into the ground.
In the dirt. There was no air coming through it ever. And so, and this was because they didn't have oversight. We have worked so hard and insisted on oversight on this whole project. And otherwise, we would have spent a lot more money. But I'm just telling as a community and potential school board people, we still have a lot of work to do. And in the keep our school, and then we look at this deficit, our long-term facility money is down, and we have to build that back up. So how do we do all this? Yes?
Do you guys have any ideas of what us as community members can do to try to help get more money from the state? Like you said, the state has a lot of money, so do you have any ideas of how we can?
Write letters to your legislators.
Write letters.
Write letters to your legislators. The state had a surplus in its budget.
Yeah, we got a surplus in the budget. Why can't they use it for education where it should be? Yes, ma'am.
I would like to hear you answer the rest of Cheryl's.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Well, wait, Cheryl, one second.
That's right.
Because, several of you had a lot of questions.
I think we're probably on the same page, I have a feeling.
Okay,
I think that we want to hit those hot topic buttons, and
Yes.
I'm trying desperately here to make a decision of, I'm using my voting
Yes.
to get some people on the school board. I feel like I'm treading water, I apologize for that.
Okay.
But,
Don't feel that way.
No,
I'm
you're
really
fine.
kind of feeling like I got nowhere coming so far tonight, but why don't we just try to hone in on some basic issues. I know that we all have opinions, we all know where we stand. I know we all have questions about communities and everything, but right now I'm trying to focus on these candidates and see what they're going to offer on this school board and why they deserve my vote.
Let's see if
That's
there's
all right.
anybody here who hasn't had a chance to ask their question yet. And if there are no further questions, by all means, we'll take yours.
We'll take both of them.
Anybody
got
who
time.
has a question?
Just a question on the budget. Is there a problem underestimating enrollment?
No, well, I don't know. That's a good question because simply put is that we don't, it's generated in the office.
It's presented to us.
With the secretaries and what the enrollment is. But the trick of it is like some people said, they get their kids are on the rolls and they pull their kids and they stay there until, and if they're homeschooled, they don't go off the rolls unless the parent says something.
So at the time that we estimated the budget for fiscal year 2023, which is what we're in now, 256 seemed realistic. Things have happened since then.
Right, but I'm just saying that you could underestimate it.
Yes.
Just to be safe. And
Well, we do.
We were hoping.
But there's hard numbers we have to meet.
Yeah. But
payroll.
But Angela wants to try to have it conservative so we have a buffer. That is the goal.
We did try. We thought we were underestimating at the time. Are there other questions before these ladies get to finish theirs? Anyone?
We're on number 3.
Okay.
We oppose any teaching that pits one race against another or assigns value based on skin shade. We agree with Martin Luther King Jr. when he spoke of character being more important than the shade of one's skin.
Yep.
What does that mean?
These are all different shade of brown.
How is it not clear?
I want to know what you mean by specifically calling that a hot button issue on your campaign
Because-
letter that you sent to me in the mail?
Because unfortunately, at certain board meetings, I'll say me, I was
Okay.
called a racist.
Oh, you were
by
called a
the-
racist?
By some of the staff.
You were actually physically called a racist? Like,
Yes.
out loud?
Well, at both of the,
Adamantly.
yeah, at the June and the July board meetings during
I
the
wasn't
open, yeah, during the open forum.
Yeah, they did, yeah.
Accusing
sure.
her of being racist
Yeah,
down at the
yeah.
Holyoke meeting. They even played a video
Yeah,
tape
and they
after.
accused
yeah,
Jack
so-
of
Yeah.
being something,
Homophobic.
yeah.
And homophobic.
Racist too.
Racist
Racist
also.
too, yeah.
Yeah.
Can you guys just answer the question and then
Thank
if
you.
it doesn't happen?
Thank
We're
you.
never gonna get through the meeting.
Thank you.
Can you guys just answer?
Okay, so that was, we agree with Martin Luther King when he spoke of character being more important than the shade of one's skin. Okay, so this is just kind of a little bit off, but who wrote this?
Me,
You actually wrote it,
I
okay.
did.
Number 4, we are concerned about the trend to introduce sexual topics at school to younger and younger children. We feel strongly that this is profoundly inappropriate and want to preserve the children's innocence and work toward keeping them children.
This has been in the schools for 20 years.
Okay?
Take a note.
No, I'm not done with my question.
That's my answer.
Want to preserve the children's innocence and work toward keeping them children at appropriate length of time.
Yeah.
Please provide examples of what sexual topics have been discussed when and with what classes.
Recently, one of the teachers posted a list of pro-LGBTQ books for 7-year-olds. And Cheryl, flip a few pages in that book and then pass it on, please.
Okay? I will after I'm done.
And that's my
Okay.
answer. That's my answer. That
Okay,
book.
but that's not, I guess that's not what I'm looking for, but, okay,
We think that the parents should be the first line.
Yes.
We think the parents should have the first say about any of this stuff here on number 4. Other words, we don't believe that it's an educator's place to teach some of this biological, some of these different topics such as sexual topics to children. I mean, there's a difference between biological birds and the bees,
okay?
and it totally takes it on a different degree when you're talking about little kids. I mean, little kids, and I don't know how to use this as an example, but little kids, they're innocent. We want to keep their innocence. You know, let them grow up. Let them do things, experience things when they're little. I mean, when they get age appropriate.
Well,
then
that's
the parents' duty to lead them to that point. It's not
That's my next question.
public school.
Please state what is the board's definition of an appropriate length of time for children to remain innocent, and does the board decide that, or do the parents?
The parents should.
Parents should, I think.
Okay, but you're deciding when they're teaching it.
I think, well, no, what I'm saying is I think it should not be taught until the parents, unless their parents say they want it taught to them.
Okay.
Or they can go by the book and teach them themselves if they want to, but what I'm saying is I think between the ages of
See, now
kindergarten.
you're gonna specify ages, okay?
Well,
What is
I'll
that?
specify ages.
Okay,
I don't
good.
think
This
any
is his
child
parenting
between.
style, not everybody's.
All right,
This is what
that's
he
what I'm
thinks.
asking for.
But this is my opinion, is that any child between kindergarten and probably the 5th or 6th grade should be, I think should be exempt from all this, having to be taught this in school.
So they should know penises and vaginas, but not what?
Well, I'm talking about, I'm just saying that basically. Well, I mean,
Like what?
This book is promoted for 10-year-olds. Take a look.
It says 10 and up.
Okay?
all right, that's 10 and up.
And you know what, we had house class at Morgan Park when I was a young boy, and we learned a little bit about being a male. And my wife,
That's normal.
she learned a little bit about a girl's
Sex.
time of the month and whatever.
At what age?
Well, I think maybe she was 12 or something when girls.
Seventh
girls start.
Seventh
Some of
grade.
them start
Seventh
earlier.
grade.
6th, 7th grade.
You have the tape. 5th grade is when the tape is introduced.
Right, okay.
All
Yeah, about 5th
I
grade. yeah.
personally have wrote a letter to the board. These books don't belong in the school. It is a parent's responsibility to teach your child if that is what you want. Politics don't belong in the school.
What is politics?
All of it.
What-
You need to
like
be
what?
taught arithmetic, math, reading. None of this involves how you define yourself. I am going to talk to you as a person. I don't care what race you are. I don't care what you define as.
Okay.
I'm going to treat you how you treat me. That's all.
But not about, like, sex.
Our phone numbers are on the bottom of that letter. Call us.
I've talked to a few of you guys.
Okay. All right. Okay.
I'll give you a chance.
No.
Just briefly.
Yes.
When we went to high school, so if we had sex education, I believe in the 9th grade, age appropriate. We already knew what the birds and the bees were. I mean, give me a break. But that's what the school board and the school district in the state of Minnesota said was the age appropriate for sex education. 9th grade.
Yeah, and it was basically anatomy, and it wasn't.
Exactly.
It wasn't what you see in this
We went into a room
book.
downstairs by the old boiler and stuff, and there was a movie, you know, and they talked about it for 1 hour. Okay. The bottom line is that why can't kids, and I recommend this to the school board and to other members of the school board, why can't kids just be kids until they're 9th graders? Why do you got to drill it in their heads and stuff with books like this and sex education when they're 7-year-olds?
Because it comes down.
That's up to the parents.
This is why a lot of this kids are.
Are you saying, Cindy, are you saying that book was on that list?
No.
So please explain where that book came from, because that is not a book that was on that teacher's list.
No, that's not.
You're passing it around, and people are going to assume that that was what was on the list.
I am sorry. I didn't mean to give that impression at all.
Yes, you did.
That book was
You meant
never
that.
on that teacher's
No,
list.
No, it wasn't
I
on the
used that
list.
book to answer your question,
No,
Cheryl,
no,
about
you
what
meant
sex
to-
ed
you
is
meant to-
appropriate.
You meant
No.
to act as though it was in the school.
I did not.
Yes, you did.
You are misrepresenting my intentions there.
No,
That is
you're
not
right.
what I said.
Well,
Okay, come.
I don't understand the book, and I just want to make sure that your point is clear. So what is that, where is this book?
Book is
in the
available
school?
in most schools' libraries.
In
Most
most
public
libraries,
schools'
is it in our library?
Yeah,
Where did you get it
I
from?
haven't looked. I bought it on the internet.
Okay, so is it something that is in our classrooms at Renshall being looked at and taught by?
I don't know that.
Okay, so why are we passing this book around that you just bought off the internet?
Because there's a long list of all of the public schools where it is available in the public libraries.
Okay, but she was referring to the list that was in your letter that came to us as residents of Renshall. She was referring to that list and asking that question, and then you handed her that book and said, this is what this is how I'm gonna answer it, and she asked you, and then you said, here's my answer.
And look at page number.
That is not what teachers
I
are
didn't
using
say
in
look
the
at page number.
classroom.
Okay, Cheryl, I'm recording this.
That's fine.
That's not what I
That's
said. I
fine.
didn't say anything about page
That's
numbers.
fine. But my question to you is, why did you buy that book? And then why, I'm with her, why did you pass it out here?
I want people to see what's being promoted as appropriate material for 10-year-olds in the public schools.
But that's not what we're using in our classrooms.
Yes, not
Good.
here.
That's good to know.
There you go.
I thought it was a book in the library.
I mean, I think our teachers have enough integrity in our classrooms to know that that is inappropriate and would never be using that in the classroom. Like, I just feel like that is a slap in the face as a teacher that you would pull that out and not clarify that that is not being used in our classrooms by us as teachers.
I apologize.
I have a question. Okay, in the blue paper that I got, you indicated that these people who are sitting here tonight running for the board have been, well, according to your definition here, they were recruited and promoted by the teachers' union. They were asked at the meeting on Tuesday night, all four of them were asked the question, were you promoted or recruited by the teachers? And all four of them said no. So what I'd like to know is, where did you get that
It is on there.
information?
It is on there.
Because that's a big deal to me.
Yes.
When I get a letter in the mail that says that the four people who are running for school board against you have been promoted by the teachers union, including the teacher Denise North, a name was named, that's a big deal to me. How did you get that information?
What it says about the teachers led by Denise North have invited us to their candidates forum on the 20th. these teachers, not specific to Denise North, but she's one that invited us to
And
the
I can
forum.
understand why you didn't want to go. By the way, the questions were benign, and I think you would have been comfortable answering the questions that were asked. I can understand, though, why you would have thought that was an unfriendly place for you to be.
Well, it was more than
However-
unfriendly. The teachers don't have the authority over the
teachers have
board.
recruited and promoted their own candidates. That's not true.
That was my impression.
Okay, well,
Can you
were
correct
wrong.
it, please? I'm asking, I know you don't want us to talk, but we all answered that question
You're
on
allowed to
record.
talk.
And, well, no, I was actually told that I would be stopped.
No,
But
I was told if you gave a speech, you would be
You
stopped.
said if I campaigned, I would be stopped, and Jack told me in a roundabout way that we were not allowed to speak. And I would like you to go on record, because I was not recruited. I am running because I have a child in this district who's in Ms. Tina's class, and I hear her hurt. And that is why I am running. I have not been recruited.
I have not either.
And all four of us said that. And you sent that out to the district, everyone in this district, as fact.
Yeah.
You said that recruited and promoted by. You sent that out. And do you understand how hurtful that is? The mail person hand-delivered that letter to me because she knew it was about me.
So I'm going on record on this recording right now to say that I was wrong. I was categorically wrong in stating in my letter that the teachers, the current candidates for Renshaw School Board, who are not currently on the board, were not recruited by the teachers.
Send out a retraction?
Are you gonna send out a retraction letter?
Yeah,
You should go on everybody, Cindy. It's not, because
say
all you're
those
doing
words.
is pitting the general public against our four candidates that are running. It's pitting them.
When you say
Look at
our-
Unite Renshaw.
When you say, yeah, look at the Unite Renshaw
Well, we don't
webpage.
have anything to do. We
When
can't-
you
Yeah, I know.
say our candidates, what do you mean by our?
The district's new candidates that are running.
She means it's a democracy.
Right.
Our candidates, the candidates, a slip of
You're also our
semantics. It's just a
candidates.
democracy.
We're just trying to figure out who we want.
And where you stand.
But you're with that letter is doing is it's pitting the community against the new candidates because they're gonna believe what you're saying. If they're not familiar with anything and they're not here,
I suggest you send out a retraction to all in the same way you did this promotion.
I will take it under consideration.
Well,
This-
you've got the recording on your computer, but Joe Blow out there who doesn't know you thinks that you're telling the truth when you obviously are not.
So this is going to be posted to our Facebook page, and it'll be available
not
to the
everybody
public
has
there.
Facebook.
Right, I don't have Facebook. How
I'll send
about-
you an email.
Pardon me?
I'll send you an email. I'm joking.
You owe it to
Take
the
it under-
community. You owe it to the community.
To
I'll
have
take-
us send a retraction letter.
I'll take it under consideration. Thank you.
I
Are
think,
there any other questions?
I think I just want to address it. I think the reason that this come up was because that's kind of what we felt when they had the teachers do the form at school.
We're gonna fix that though, right? You and I.
Right.
we're
We talked
gonna
about
tell them
that. Mary and I talked, and I'm sure that we would like to have a question answer session with the public. Let the public answer the question, or ask the questions
So
of
there
it.
will be another forum then?
That's
what
Jack
we're-
and I are trying to plan something where everyone, with a moderator, so that the talking doesn't necessarily happen and people can just ask questions, and all of the candidates would agree to the terms ahead of time so that everyone feels comfortable.
And
Is
we
what
were-
we're trying to put together. And it'll be in the next couple of weeks, because we've got just some schedules and we understand that mail-in ballots are going out this weekend. And it's really important because we weren't given the ability to answer community questions, and we weren't invited. We asked to be a part of this, and we were told no. So we would like to have the opportunity to answer your questions as well.
And I think it's a good idea. The 4th and the 6th, I think we were looking at the dates?
Yes.
Of October.
Of October.
And I think it's fair, and I think, because we don't, you guys are the ones that pay the taxes in this district.
Yeah, I think it's important that the.
And I think you are the ones that need to be answering.
Who would choose the moderators?
I actually, since I'm a wedding planner, I know a bunch of DJs in town, and there's a Christian DJ that lives outside of the district. I've already asked him, and if he's available, he said he'd be more than happy to step in as the moderator, because we do want it to be someone that is totally unbiased and is willing to kind of lay down the rules, and the rules would be set out at the beginning of the forum for everyone to follow. And again, those would be rules that all of us would agree upon going into it, so that everyone knows.
You could consider Father Nick up at Queen of Peace. He's pretty unbiased.
And a pastor was definitely high on my list as far as kind of what I was thinking through. I started with a Christian DJ.
That would be your denomination either.
Yes. Oh, no, not at all.
But just somebody outside of the community.
Absolutely outside of the community was like, for, I think,
no
all of
teacher.
us.
Can I ask just one more question?
Yes,
Who paid for the posters for this?
We did,
Who's we?
the three of us.
Oh, personally?
Yeah.
Okay. Just wondering.
And we paid for the hall, and we paid for the treats.
And the cookies.
Out of our
Don't
own
forget the
pocket.
cookies.
Yeah, don't forget.
yeah, we can spend $5 a piece on cookies, so,
Refreshments.
for you.
Oh, refreshments. Meeting is over, folks.
Well,
One question.
Sure?
There's one question.
Sure?
Can
All right.
each of you answer this one question?
We'll try.
If you lose, what do we lose? And if you win, what does the community win? What do we lose by you not getting elected?
Hopefully not much. Hopefully they love the students.
No, what meaning is for each of you to answer is what is it? What is the benefit of having you in that position?
Because we have a certain level of knowledge and understanding
So
of
experience
what's going
is what
on.
you're saying.
Experience, yeah, in the school, on the school board.
And what about you?
And then,
Each of you, yeah.
oh, go ahead.
Well, Jack and I have the same amount of time as experience on the board. I can't say we have a good working relationship with all the staff, but I know a lot of the bus drivers and janitorial staff feel comfortable coming and talking to me.
So rapport.
Right. But not with everybody.
And Jack?
Well, I think facility, I've been on the facility committee, and we got the facility committee started. We actually talked the board in accepting the citizens on the facility committee back before
you were even on the board.
Before we were on the board, but I think a lot of it has to do with the facility and career and technical building. What I've learned on a lot of things, you just can't get this in 1 year. It takes about 3.5 years, 3 years before you really start.
What you started there, can it still be accomplished without you involved?
Yes, it could, but I will always be involved because I will volunteer. And and I'll be honest with you, it's I guess I think that if I lose, then you know what? My blood pressure will go down. So
actually, though, being on the board, you have somewhat of a gag order. You can't talk about certain things. You're more free and open and can do more and say more on that side than you can here. So I will fight for every child in that school, but I damn well will fight for my grandson if I'm on that side of the table or this side.
Thank you, Doug.
Yeah.
I was on the board back in the early 90s for like 2 years, and then I quit because they pulled my son out and sent him to Marshall, and I thought it would be hypocritical for me to stay on there. But I got to admit, I went in there really naive. I had no clue. No clue. You read this stuff and you think you know, but you really don't until you get on there. And thank God there were people on there, with experience, because you really need that. You need some with experience. It's okay to bring new blood in, but you still need that experience and that knowledge. And I was surprised we had to go to these classes too, and stuff. It's like, and they're learning all this law, all this stuff you have to know. And I'm thinking, what the heck did I get myself into? It's like it was a lot. It wasn't just going in there and doing this and doing that. can't be
It's
popular,
nothing what
know,
you-
when you're in a
it's nothing what you
position
think it
like
is.
that. A lot of people aren't gonna like you, you know, so if you go in thinking people are gonna like you all the time.
No.
No, I told
You
people
still have
I'd
a
have
chance
to.
to get off.
Yes, sir.
I knew I made a mistake.
Ron, don't walk.
You have a question back here?
Headache.
When a new teacher comes into a building, usually there's a mentor teacher that can help them out with any questions. And, if there is, a board member change, et cetera, could that same mentorship be available to help a new person come on, just a question, answer, hey, what do you think, guide me? I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know legally if it could be, but
when
Jack's
I was-
always open to talk.
When I was appointed to the board in November, I was asked to get a mentor, and I chose Rosie Bradley.
And it's a good thing too, because, there's just so much that, the kids, don't ever think that we're not for the kids, because we are. And I guess the thing that I'm saying, whether I stay on or leave, whatever, these people right here, I'm willing to talk with them. I'm willing to share with them what I can. And,
Because in the end, it's the kids.
And at the end, it is the kids. And one thing that was down here that I do want to talk about, that because I think it's important, is the number 4 question you had down here. I want to kind of hit on that, and I want to go back to 3. Of course, there was a lot of issues when Michelle was brought on. My stance was, when Michelle come on, it was put to me by someone that, this is so good and great for diversity. I said, wait a minute. I said, wait a minute. I said, it's good because Michelle did the work. Michelle put all that hard time in getting a principal license. She went to school. She put all the work, and I said, you're not going to just say diversity's well spent. You're not going to do that. We're going to put it down as that she worked to get there, and she deserves a chance. She's homegrown. She's done everything to get there. She deserves a chance. I don't believe in anything that resembles affirmative action, because it doesn't. And back to what Martin Luther King said, you look at the character of the person, not the color. We're all a different shade of brown. And in the past, I have a pretty good, I thought I had a good sense of humor. I joke and make jokes and stuff once in a while, and everybody has. But I'm not. What I did is I ended up having to write an apology letter for something I said. And I want to make it clear right now, I never ever said anything about Native American parts, Native American remains. I never said that. I said in a meeting, I brought up the bone issue. I said, well, if you find bones, meaning bones. I did not know how sensitive that was to Native Americans. I wrote an apology letter. But I promise you, I'm the least prejudiced person, because if you want to talk diversity, my stepmother's Mexican. My 2 stepsisters are Mexican. I have a Mexican-American nephew, 2 of them. I have a niece and nephew that is Chickasaw. My family on my grandmother's side is Choctaw from Oklahoma. And was forced out of, let's talk a little history, was forced out of on the Trail of Tears from Georgia. Ended up in a reservation in Oklahoma where she met my grandfather, who was a missionary. And I got a Japanese aunt and 2 cousins that are American Japanese. So, but I wasn't raised in the culture of my grandmother. I had meant no harm about what I said. And, so I apologized. I sent a letter, and that's all I can say about that. But I do want to address the thing that was talked about about when the GSA wanted to form at school. I told them that this was important because my job as born-again Christians to love you, not judge you. That's what it's about. We can't judge people. We're not to judge people. My job is to protect them. And I told them that. And our job as a board is to make sure that policy is in place and the right people are there to protect them, because we can't be at school. And, you know, and we've had gay kids through in Renshaw throughout the years, all the way back to when school started. And, you know, before, I don't know why, but since it become a hot topic, it seems like the bullying was there. But in the past, they were never bullied that I know of. They were never bullied. It wasn't called out because they were part of the gang. My son had them in his class. We didn't think anything other than they were just the kids on the block. They camped out, they played ball, they did camping, they went fishing, they did everything. And, you know, we never thought any less of them. But we never asked them, we never questioned. So, and I think that's why we need to keep kids innocent as long as we can. Because of that simple reason. Because they don't see this. It's just like color. They don't see color unless you point it out. And so I think a lot of it, you know, and my heart goes out to them for the bullying and stuff. It's not good. Nobody likes to be bullied.
You know, I have gay friends and I had a gay cousin and stuff, but a lot of kids back in school and stuff back then, they didn't actually come out until they were in college, a lot of them, or when they left high school and went on. That's when they came out. But in school, they never did. Grade school or high school, they kind of kept to themselves and kept it inside. And that's like when I'm talking about a lot of the kids in school now, where it's kind of like a fad for them, or cool for them to be doing all this transgender stuff and all this gay stuff. It's ones that truly are, you know, that can be hurt by that as well. And it's not just it's who they are. It's deep inside of them, you know. So to me, this whole thing with pushing all of that, a lot of the, and they need, and I think in a way it's good that, you know, it's being recognized and accepted and stuff. But I think it's, I don't know, it's real confusing, I think, for kids. In fact, a lot of them, I don't think they really knew back then. I mean, now they probably do because it's so much more open, but I think they knew there was something different about them, but they weren't quite sure what it was, you know, back then. But now it's so much more open that it makes it harder. But I think what the point I'm trying to make is with the bullying and stuff, you know, maybe there's less of a bullying because of kids coming out sooner, but I don't think
we hope so.
I don't know if a lot of kids really even know until maybe they're, I don't know, junior high or whatever. I don't know. I don't know. I can't speak because I wouldn't know.
But,
you know, so I can't speak for someone else.
But I can tell you, since all the school boards that come through Renshaw, I would have never in my wildest dreams we had to deal with stuff that we had to deal with as we'd had since COVID in this last 4 years. I'm honest with you. I tell you what, you know, we'd pass a policy or pass when it come to taking action on items and stuff. I would be so cotton picking mad by the time I pulled in the driveway. I'm just sitting there pounding. I'm going, why? Why did we go there? Why did we, you know? And the only thing that I can tell you is that, man, I tell you what, I think it's great that you guys are stepping up and running because, you know, people don't have a clue of, you know, if your heart's in it and how much time you put in it. You know, I never would have dreamed, but
and a lot of the stuff
is
brought in from above, you know, state-wise.
The state has put so much stuff on everybody that, you know, and it's making the job harder. And it just like Mr. Brunel, you know, if you could go back teaching right now, maybe you'd substitute, I don't know, but if you go back teaching right now, you could even, I can tell, that you can see the trends are completely different from even when you left. And, you know, and it's, I don't know what, boy, there's some days I go home and my head is just spinning, but when I look and I see something where our kids, you know, my goal, or my hope, is everyone who ends up developing all the curriculum for this over here, is that we get tangled up with the trade unions again. We had at one time 15 different trade unions willing to work with us. And where the kids, the goal was to get the kids started in an apprenticeship program in their junior and senior year. After they graduate, turn 18, they're on a job site and they get finished. But you know what's neat about this? They have no college debt. They have, in many cases, are you still in the cement thing, or are you out the gas plant? Okay. Well, I know, like a lot of them, when they start their apprenticeship, they actually get paid.
Yes.
I mean, cool, right? But we need people. We need you people. And if they are ones on the board, you need to help them and pursue this, and keep going at it.
When we had the kids out there in the garage and stuff, I took half of the kids because I'm a union. I was union all my life, built houses all my life, and the teacher that came out, Chris Gustafson, he took half of the kids. So I might do electrical with them one day. One day I might do drywall. One day framing, things like that. We had the union carpenters come out, and we had the electrical union come out. And 5 of the kids that worked on that job, when they graduated, they went directly to the union. And just as a finished carpenter, they were making more money than a college graduate per hour, and no college debt. So I always look at it and I say, you know what? Teachers in my day and stuff used to always say, go to college, go to college. Half of us did not, and we make more money and stuff, and retired with more money than the college graduates.
But this,
So,
yeah, so and just to add to that point too, this whole process isn't necessarily for somebody that's going to make a career. They might want to be, okay, so they may have to go to college after they get done with this 2-year program, but they might want to go into business and for themselves, so they've already got a head foot up on everybody else, so that they can go into the, like engineers, business of their own. I mean, the possibilities are endless, and the only way we can make it happen, and we will need volunteers when it comes down to it. You need journeymen, retired journeymen that can go over here and work with the kids. And I can't think of anything better we could do.
I bring in a lot of people.
It would bring in a ton of people. It would bring in, and the more we push
donation
this.
and help from the community.
Fundraisers, yes ma'am, you had your hand up.
I was just wondering if you could just briefly, because I know everybody wants the meeting's over, but could you just talk about, do you guys have a plan to work with the superintendent and the principal to have a more positive relationship going forward? Because it hasn't been very positive, and we're, you know, there's a lot of contention, and I'm not saying whose fault it is. I'm just saying, do you have a plan to support them and work with them?
Well, we have a plan to work with people. We don't deny, we have to work with them regardless whether you want to or not with people, but you have to make the best of it.
But it's been very difficult. I mean, do you have a plan going forward to make that smoother?
Well, first of all, we have to wait for the investigation to be done on some things.
To have a working relationship with the superintendent?
No, we have to, what we have to do is we have to go in there with a positive attitude and we have to take the situations as they come up, what's going to work the best for the outcome for the kids. That's the bottom line. And, you know, you're going to have people you're not necessarily going to agree with. And so, you know, I've run jobs. So we have to get along with people, and we have to, for the common good of the children, the kids, the students. That's the most important thing.
So I'm guessing everybody's having so much fun they don't want to leave.
No, I want to know.
I got one closing comment. As we talked about stuff, and we got the education quality, the teachers, we have got some of the finest teachers there are, but as the teachers get pushed stuff on, and it gets pushed on us. And there are discipline programs and how we can deal with it, pushed from the state, what's got to be taught. I got interested in the school board business 30 years ago when my kids were going to school. And one of the things that come up in the news referendums back probably in that 98 one, but one of the questions I asked, what's on the side of the school bus? You know what that says on the side of the school bus? Who can say it?
Independent District 100.
It says Renshaw School, Independent District 100. You know what my question was? What's independent about it? This tech building is independent. It is all us. That's the only thing we can do. It's independent, solely independent. This other stuff we got to deal with and beat on. We got to write letters down to the state and to the people like that. We got to gather together as a community. That's independent. We all don't have the same flavor, color, politics, but you know what? That's what makes a community.
A village.
And so that's my closer. That's my closer.
Thank you, Wayne.
And no more blame game. No more blame games. That's just that has to stop. That doesn't make anybody feel good, especially when it's 0.
Thank you.
Thank you all for coming.
You're fabulous.
Don't leave.
Mayor, this is in hundreds of public schools.
Okay, I was just asking, I hope you don't mind, I just really didn't understand why you were passing it around, and so that's why I was like, I just want you to clarify, like, is it being taught?
This is what I mean by inappropriate aids.
Right. No, you definitely did not say it was at Renshaw. No, I know. No, I just want, I'm glad you clarified that you're not sure it's at Renshaw. I think that I wanted to clarify like why it was being passed. Now I understand. Thanks for coming. And we will talk, I gotta run, I've got a sick kid that I gotta get to urgent care for an ear infection. We all agree.
Open forum thing?
Yeah.
Not at school.
You don't think, because even because he said at the school.
I'm not sure legally if it should be.
Teachers to host that one.
That's what I mean. We just were ready to show up just so you know. We had nothing but, like, I didn't do Denise up north out until last Monday at the school board meeting, honestly. I didn't know who she was. So we were just ready like you, and so I'm sure I'll get to know. I hope. So we just showed up. If you don't want to do it at school, we get to make up the rules on whatever we do. It would not be posted at all by anyone. Like, yeah, we would rent it.
Not at the school.
Okay, if that's
Because I told Kate they use theirs at the city hall.
yeah.
Because
I don't care where. I don't care where. If here's like, is this big enough? Is the question.
next door might be bigger.
The fire hall. Okay, we'll figure that out. The 4th or the 6th were the dates that we were because Jacqueline's on the 8th, and we've got some board meetings and committee meetings in there to deal with. So let's all just kind of get together and figure it out, because we totally want to answer everyone's questions too. That was not, we got there and they were like, we are not, I think they asked briefly if we were okay with it just being asked by them.
Questions for that.
Different teachers, it was all different teachers, right?
From the teachers.
Yeah.
It was about the teachers.
Well, but it was still just basic. It was still just basic.
No, you are entirely wrong about the promoted and picked by. You are entirely wrong. We showed up. Like you were invited just as we were. We all received the exact same invitation.
Correct.
Teachers were ones who chose the
Careful, we got big ears.
If you want the list of questions, just so you can see what it was, I guess we wrote them down.
It was also recorded and has been posted now, and you can see who asked the questions.
Horrible recordings.
I know the audio. I was like, but we'll figure it out. We'll figure out a place for us to do this with the moderator so that the discussion stuff doesn't happen and with time limits.
Did either of you have questions for us that you want to talk about or ask now?
I can't right now just because I got to get my son has an ear infection, so, yes, very close.
No, I had nothing specifically tonight. I really just wanted to come and listen to everybody, really see what people are worried about. So.
Well, it's good to know if you're going to be on the board. This is the sort of thing you need to.
I want more of this. I want more community involvement.
You have to make them.
It's
And here's, I got big ones.
the school board members all the representatives of the community at the school. It's about the community. The school board should not be overly influenced by the teachers or by the superintendent. The superintendent is the board's employee. So this idea that the board somehow needs to be incorporated into the workings
daily
of the functions
routine.
of the school is not really about that. We answer to the community.
True. I agree with that.
Well, it's in law. It's not.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff where hands are tied. You don't have a choice.
Well, if you want to get
And part of that also is the rest of the following getting involved and getting educated.
Yep.
I don't have the answer to that anymore.